My last few videos have talked about the new rules for flying in the UK, which all changed at the end of last year, 31st of December 2020. Those brought in some tighter restrictions, but also some new exemptions, especially if you undertook additional training like the A2 CofC. But there are also a completely different set of rules if you fly under something called Article 16 permission of a recognised flying club. And it is far from straightforward working out which rules are best for you, but that's what I'm trying to do today. Hello, Ian here, and today I wanted to outline the main differences between flying under the new EASA rules that came into force at the end of last year, and how those rules change if you have the A2 CofC training course under your belt, and how the rules change again if you fly under what's called Article 16, which, as I said, you can use if you're a member of a recognised flying club. What and where you can fly varies massively under each of these scenarios, and many of you have been asking how you can work out which set of rules is best. As of course it is not straightforward, and in fact you might actually think, to be honest, it's a bit of a dog's breakfast, and frankly I think you'd be right. But look, this is where we are and we have to make the best of it. But the main thing to remember is it is not actually a competition. No one set of rules is better than the other. The rules are very different for different models of aircraft and different types of flight. So if you work out which is best for your circumstances, you can get the best advantage. And as most people will probably change their flight or location, but not necessarily the model of their drone or aircraft, I'll actually put in some jump points shortly so you can actually skip to your particular model of drone or aircraft that you fly and work out which is best for you. But before I do that, I just want to go through the main differences between the three main scenarios, as there are some fairly major differences. First off, the new EASA rules are the default rules that will cover you in the absence of any other special permission. I've already done a full video on these, but basically these rules dictate how close you can fly to people based on the weight and therefore the potential danger of the drone or aircraft that you're flying. The default EASA rules have got three subcategories of the standard open category of flying, namely A1, flying over people, A2, flying near people, and A3, flying far away from people out in open countryside. The A1 and the A2 flights categories can be made inside congested areas, and currently it's the weight of the drone that dictates where you can fly. Under these rules, you can generally only fly in open countryside, A3 flights only, and you have to keep 150 metres away from a congested area, and crucially keep a 50-metre horizontal distance from uninvolved people. Small drones like the Mini and the Mini 2 are the big exception, and they can fly A1 type flights right inside congested areas, right over uninvolved people. You can literally take off from your back garden if you're flying a sub 250 gram drone. Now, holding the A2 CofC qualification, the A2 Certificate of Competence, brings most of these models in from the cold, letting you fly drones up to 2 kilograms inside congested areas. That's residential, commercial, industrial and recreational areas. Crucially, you do still need to keep that 50-metre horizontal distance from people. A key point about the A2 CofC though is it makes absolutely no difference to the smallest drones like the Mini or the Mini 2 that are under 250 grams, because these very small drones have got almost total freedom anyway. And of course, one of the biggest changes of the new EASA rules is that both standard and the A2 CofC rules allow for commercial flights with no extra permissions required other than needing commercial insurance. You don't need the A2 CofC for commercial flying, but of course if you do have it, it's going to let you fly in more places. So next up, the Article 16 main rules, which are very different. These are rules that are available to members of flying clubs, and they were designed to protect model aircraft club flyers from the draconian new rules being imposed by the powers that be in their fear of idiots just buying DJI drones off the shelf and flying them irresponsibly. So if you're a member of a flying club, you do get extra permissions, and that is how Article 16 came about. So look, these rules treat all weights of aircraft and multi-rotor drones the same. So there is no difference between a tiny little 250 gram drone or a whopping 25 kilogram monster, which frankly I do find a little bit surprising, but there we go. The other biggest difference is the minimum distance rule. Under Article 16, you have to keep a 30-metre bubble from uninvolved people, but it is not a horizontal minimum distance. Meaning not only is there a smaller distance, but once you're 30 metres high, you can actually fly over uninvolved people, which is a huge benefit. But wait, there's also more. The minimum distance of 30 metres is halved when you're taking off or landing down to just 15 metres. So this smaller distance is probably the single biggest advantage of Article 16. The rules also allow you to fly inside recreational areas and up to, but not inside, residential, commercial or industrial areas. So there's no minimum 150 metre distance from staying away from those areas like there is under the ASA rules. But a key point of flying inside recreational areas is the mandatory requirement under Article 16 to complete a risk assessment. All the clubs have their templates, but it is an extra hoop that you've got to fly through, literally. And finally, the two other biggest differences are that Article 16 rules do not allow for commercial flights at all, and they also don't allow you to use any of the autonomous modes like follow me or active track. So look, that's the main differences between the different sets of rules. They are fundamental real differences, and this is why it can be so confusing working out whether or not it's worth going for the A2 CofC or take advantage of the extra rights you get by belonging to a flying club. So what I can do now is cross-reference those rules by type and weight of drone or aircraft. And as said, here are some jump points for the more popular models of drones, and if you're flying a self-build or a fixed-wing aircraft, then they will simply fall into the same categories by weight. So depending on what you're flying, feel free to jump forward, or just keep watching the video if you have more than a few, if you have a few different types of models, and then you can see what rules apply to which model. So first off, let's cover the big models, as they are very easy. If you are flying a larger model over 2 kilograms, like the DJI Inspire for instance, the standard EASA rules are relegating you to A3 type flights only, far away from people, open countryside, 150 metres from any congested area and 50 metres horizontal distance from uninvolved people. Crucially, holding the A2 CofC makes no difference at all here, as the certificate of competence permission it gives you is only applicable to drones up to 2 kilograms. So if you're over 2 kilograms, the only benefit you get with the standard set of the EASA rules is that you can fly commercial flights without any extra permissions. Conversely, flying under Article 16 from a flying club makes a massive difference to these bigger drones. You get the same rights for any weight drone or model aircraft right up to 25 kilograms, which I think is actually pretty staggering. As long as you have that risk assessment, you can fly inside recreational areas and right up to the edge of other congested areas. And of course, you've got that minimum distance from uninvolved people of just a 30-metre bubble. So for me, big models, it's pretty clear. If you are not flying commercially, then being able to fly as a member of a flying club under Article 16 is a huge, huge benefit, and far better than trying to fly under the standard EASA rules. So next up, the mid-size models like the Mavic Pro, the 2 Pro, the Zoom, Air 2, Unique, Typhoon, Autel Evo, and any self-build or fixed-wing aircraft under 2 kilograms. These mid-size models, by far and away, they cover the majority of flyers, and here things are actually a little bit more evenly split, so I'll take a little bit more time. Under the default EASA rules, again, you're relegated to A3 category, far away from people and outside congested areas with that 50-metre minimum distance. But here, taking the A2 CofC, the certificate, does make a huge difference, as you can then fly back inside all 4 types of congested areas. That's residential, commercial, industrial and recreational. You do still have to maintain that 50-metre horizontal distance from uninvolved people, and that means no overflying. But with the A2 CofC certificate, you can fly in most places as long as there are few enough people to keep that 50-metre minimum distance from. Although for smaller models under 500 grams, that minimum distance is actually reduced down to 0, but you still can't fly over people. You can only fly up to them. And again, with the EASA rules, with or without an A2 CofC, you're able to fly commercially. So if you are flying for a client and getting paid, and the only people present are those directly involved with your flight, then you can fly as close as you need to for those pictures and videos that you're being paid to make. So the A2 CofC does make a bit of a difference there. You can also use the intelligent flight modes if your model has got them. So features like active track, follow me, or quick shots, flying circular or orbits around the subject, they're all permitted under the default EASA rules with or without the A2 CofC certificate. So that's that side. Now for the very different rules under Flying Club rules for these mid-sized models. As said, that huge benefit of a reduced minimum distance, 30-metre bubble down to just 15 metres for takeoff and landing. This allows you to fly over uninvolved people, which is easily the biggest advantage of being able to use the Article 16 permissions. And remember that you can fly in recreational areas as well if you've completed that risk assessment. Another very interesting quirk for fixed wing aircraft, not multi-rotor drones, but if you've got a fixed wing aircraft, you can actually fly higher than 400 feet. This is a very narrow and specific exemption that again was included for fixed wing model aircraft being flown in certain locations. But again, it is a big advantage if that's what you happen to be flying. And finally, the smaller sub 250 gram drones. And here, very, very easy, as the default EASA rules win hands down. You can literally fly in almost all areas as long as there are no airspace restrictions like airports or no-fly zones. You can fly in all congested areas and you can fly over uninvolved people except crowds. Like all the categories, you do have to comply with landowner rules for taking off and controlling things though. So some national parks and all National Trust land is pretty much off limits. But fundamentally, these small models have got almost complete freedom to fly under the standard EASA rules. And again, that does include commercial flights. The A2 CofC makes no difference to small drones given their wide-ranging freedom that they've already got. And for these very small models, the Article 16 rules are actually far more restrictive by comparison. Because remember, the Article 16 rules don't make any allowances for different weights. So you are stuck with the same rules that you have for flying heavier drones, which means open countryside or recreational areas, and you've still got that minimum distance of 30 meters from people. Interestingly, both sets of rules though have got no minimum age requirements. Just this week, the CAA announced the minimum age for flying is being removed, although you still need to have somebody over 18 years old to register an operator ID as the legal owner. And the person holding the remote control has obviously got to do the flyer ID unless they're flying a very small sub 250 gram drone. But otherwise, the minimum flyer age of 12 no longer applies from this week. So no matter which way you're flying, off you go, buy that drone for your kids. But look, there you go. If you are over 2 kilograms, then Article 16 rules are for you. And if you're under 250 grams, then the standard EASA rules give you almost complete freedom. But for the rest of us flying mid-sized drones and aircraft, we have a messy, convoluted mess of overlapping rules with various pros and cons. But help is at hand through the Grey Arrows Drone Forum, who run the fairly amazing Drone Scene website. I mentioned this the other week. Drone Scene is a really useful site. It's got an interactive map that shows airspace restrictions and endless listings uploaded by users sharing their favourite flying spots. And now they have a new tool to help people work out what they can do under each of the categories of rules, and that is their new Good to Fly app. It's a new part of the website that works perfectly on a desktop or your phone, and it lets you enter some basic details about how and where you want to fly, leading you through a few simple questions and whether or not you're a member of a flying club and or whether or not you hold an A2 CofC. Once you put in those details, it will then tell you exactly what you can and can't do, which is pretty fantastic when you think about all the permutations and combinations of rules and restrictions that are affecting you. As said, this works on all phones, whether both Apple and Android, as the website just resizes perfectly for a smaller phone screen. So if you have the shortcut saved to your phone screen, you can open it up when you're out and about. So I will put a link below and you can check it out, as it is a completely free site. So there you are. What is my take on all of this? Well, look, I think for the majority of flyers who are not members of a flying club at the moment, I think the A2 CofC route teaches you truckloads of information and knowledge about flying, and it will be immensely useful for both any drone you own now, but even more so when the new models start being sold with the new numeric classifications, because that will give you even more exemptions and freedom to fly. And of course, it lasts for 5 years. But signing up with the Flying Club gives you some good advantages too, like flying and learning with other people. And through membership, you're going to get liability insurance and of course the ability to fly under these huge exemptions that Article 16 gives you. Right, anyway, crazy long video today, and hopefully the last one I have to do on the rules affecting how we fly here in the UK. I'll put a playlist of all the videos I've done over the last few weeks on these new rules. So whilst we're waiting for lockdown to end and the weather to improve, you can go through all of these videos and then dream of warm summer days and wide open spaces to fly in. So look, on that note, until next time, have fun, happy flying.